listening to the Data Flowcast, where we unlock the secrets of mastering airflow for data engineering and AI.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Data Flowcast. I'm your host, Kenton Danis, and today I'm joined by Max Calehuff, who is a lead data engineer at Vivian Health. Max, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I've been in the process of doing some research to upgrade us to Airflow 3. So I've been going through that, and then I've wanted to. I have been considering. Well, we're hiring a new engineer soon to do a data engineer backfill job. So I was hoping to have them do a I forget what it's called. You have a DBT competitor, right? Um,
We have Cosmos, which is
Cosmos. Yeah.
the package
Yeah.
used so for Airflow and DBT together.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been scoping out some tickets for that. So yeah. Um,
Right.
yeah, it's exciting. I've been looking at some of the features of Airflow 3, and it seems like exciting. So stuff we might be able to use.
Great. Yeah, sounds like there's a lot going on. Well, I definitely want to dig into the Airflow 3 piece a little more later. But yeah, we'll go ahead and dive in. For our listeners for today's podcast, we're going to discuss how Vivian Health uses Airflow for MLOps and regulatory compliance. I think we'll touch on Airflow 3 as well. So we'll get into all of that. But before
Remote
we,
execution, right?
yes.
Yeah. We just we can get into that.
Yeah, we'll bury the lead a little bit up front
Mhm,
here.
mhm.
But yeah, first let's start with some background. Can you tell everybody what Vivian Health does?
Yeah. So at a very high level, you can think of Vivian Health as a job board / placement tool for travel nurses. So nurses will go on and create a profile with their background and experience, a set of preferences and where they're looking for a job, what type of shifts they're open to, even things like down to the scrub color that they're looking for in their position. Which I totally understand. I wouldn't want to wear an ugly outfit every day. We also have recruiter users who will come onto the platform and try and place nurses in jobs that they have. And so they can search similarly for nurses. And we also use a lot of models to suggest jobs nurses might apply for, or find potential matches for jobs that the recruiters can then follow up with. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And what does your team do?
So we're the data team at Vivian. We do we provide all of the you know essentially anything that's built off of a data lake. So we use DBT heavily to build models that then analysts use. Some of it is used on the front end in our front end web app. So we will sync. We work pretty cross functionally with both core engineering and our customer success managers who interface with these recruiting agencies who use our platform. So we also use a lot, do BI and Looker and create dashboards, publish reports. And then we also handle, our ML models, the training and deployment. And those are, I kind of touched on this earlier. Those are things that suggesting similar jobs after a nurse applies to one based on their preferences and a number of other parameters. Yeah, and then we'll also have potential matches that get generated for jobs with recruiters.
Okay, very cool. And where does Airflow fit into all of that?
Yeah, so Airflow is our core orchestration tool. We have a number of DAGs that are used for everything from retraining ML models to importing data from external API endpoints, updating our own API endpoints. We have a jobs feed that we generate every hour based on new analytics data coming in. So really the whole ETL pipeline essentially. Yeah, we use it to synchronize things. Which we run in DBT Cloud right now. I was talking with a little earlier about wanting to maybe change over to Cosmos, but we will trigger like different DBT cloud jobs and then have like contingency based on like down to like the individual models. So if we do if we do a run that selects like say like 100 models, we can like use Airflow to look at like we can like parse the DBT manifest and see that a model succeeded or failed, and then like run downstream tests as a result. And the same thing for like importing data from say Stitch or uploading it through Census. All of this stuff can be triggered with Airflow, and you can also do things like we like can run like SQL statements that will process data from Snowflake and load it into say a Postgres table, which is typically pretty hard to do. But by building out like leveraging like a custom operator we built, we're able to do that. So
Okay, great. Yeah, so lots of stuff. Lots of stuff with Airflow. Sounds like both on the ETL and the MLOps side. Before we get into more of the use case specific stuff, how are you running Airflow for your team? Do you use a managed service or do you run it yourself?
yeah, we host it with Astronomer. Yeah, we use like code with AWS Code Deploy to actually like execute the build. But yeah, it's we use we host it with Astronomer.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, very cool. Okay, well, I would love to dig in a little more to your MLOps use case since this is a growing use case with Airflow, especially over the past couple of years. Tell me kind of more broadly how you use Airflow to manage your ML models.
Yeah, so at a very high level, we get data that we want. The data that we use to train the ML models sits in our like Snowflake in Snowflake. The data. I think I talked about this earlier. The data comes from all kinds of sources, and we process it, and then we use AWS SageMaker to manage our models. So we will push training data and trigger the model run, and then take that model and deploy it to the API endpoints that we also host in AWS. And all of that is orchestrated in Airflow. Yeah, so everything from like getting the data, processing it into a DBT model, getting it, prepping it for export to SageMaker, triggering the training, like testing to make sure that we have it, the model's like adequately tuned. We're currently actually working on refactoring our process for how we're going to handle feature drift. Yeah, and then once we have like the models deployed, we use Split to do A/B testing. Yeah, and then once we find a model we want to deploy, we'll update Airflow and have that be the like current version. And then once a week, typically, we will like then retrain that same model. Yeah, so it's kind of like a higher level overview. Yeah, and all that happens in it's a separate DAG called the the weekly ML retraining pipeline.
Nice. Very aptly named.
Yes.
Cool. So it sounds like Airflow is pretty integral kind of from the very beginning to the very end of that whole process. I'm curious, just in the logic of choosing Airflow, not everybody thinks about Airflow as an MLOps tool since it's, kind of historically ETL has been its bread and butter. But what do you think about Airflow makes it well suited for MLOps?
I just love the versatility of it. You can it honestly like it honestly reminds me kind of like earlier internet days where like you kind of just had to like hack a lot of different services together. And you can do, but like the sky was really the limit in terms of like a lot of products now I feel like kind of are restricted and can be like a little bit of a walled garden. But like the robust like operator library of Airflow, and then the capability if you have like a data engineer with like you don't have to be like you don't have to be like a all-star programmer to go in and like extend an operator class. You can do it, and it's even easier now with like Cursor. So you can essentially do anything in like whatever order you want. Like the limits of using, I mean, for example, right? Like Snowpark has its own like model deployment and training like architecture, but you're like limited only to using Anaconda packages. You can't like use anything else. So that's like, because it's living in their virtual environment, like that was like a point of like frustration. They also have like with that one, for example, like you can't really use say pandas efficiently to do data manipulation. They have like their own proprietary version, which it does work, but it's just another like why am I learning another like Python package just to use like do data manipulation in this like one specific place when everywhere else I'm using pandas. So yeah, the fact that you can like just run any arbitrary Python code really, you know, I think people like Python because of how versatile it is, and like I really like that you can just have any Python file and run it in Airflow. Like that's very powerful, especially if you have like a more technical team.
Yeah, definitely. On my team at Astronomer, we always kind of joke that like it's both the good thing and the bad thing about Airflow is like if you can do it in Python, you can do it in Airflow, and like that's both great and also can be kind of dangerous sometimes.
You need to have yeah, you have to have like pretty robust code review and like make sure that the people on your team are like yeah, it is like a tool for it is like a tool for engineers. I will say that. It's a little tricky for, like, for example, like if you were gonna just like go set up Stitch, like, okay, you like run a few commands in like Snow Sites UI, and then like kind of, it fits itself together, and then you could say like use DBT, but yeah, that's like, but then like going and like say like spinning up like a Docker container and hosted service and like getting Airflow running and like having like we're done, like say like we use like the managed service, but I know you need to have like a different worker setup and redundancies. And so all that stuff is like takes a lot more knowledge than like doing something that's more out of the box. Yeah, so yeah, it is like definitely for engineer. I do it is definitely like a tool for engineers. But, it's a really great tool for engineers. Yeah, I've been using it for years now, and
Yeah. Best practices are important for sure. Even with a managed service that helps out with some of those things.
the documentation for Airflow is pretty good, and Astronomer has their own docs too that kind of, like, expand on some of the more, esoteric sections of, yeah, so
Yes, those are maintained by my team. So,
Oh, really? Yeah, it's
yep.
great. Not a lot of, like, companies I've not met a lot of companies that will, like, improve docs, like, for I don't know. It's just like it's open to any, like, public user can any just the public can use it. I don't think you even need, like, an Astronomer account to read your docs. Are
No,
pretty good.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, anyone if you wanna learn they have, like, the Apache docs can be a little confusing sometimes. Highly recommend Astronomer's docs.
Yeah, our stuff is there for the whole community. So,
Cool, cool.
well, I'm curious also if you have on the topic of airflow for MLOps, is there anything that you think could be improved? We spoke a little bit about the need for best practices, so that's certainly relevant there as well. But anything else that you think in the project kind of feature wise that would make it better for that use case?
For MLOps specifically, I guess, yeah, I mean, we use AWS to retrain. I guess, do you know, like, of other users who, like, actually use, like, say, like, Astronomer, like, do the training within the container itself, or do they typically use, like, external services or, like, another, like, remote machine that they can use in AWS?
Good question. I think it does happen. It's not as common. I think most of the time folks are relying on some sort of like external service that's specifically for model
Yeah.
hosting and retraining, and they're orchestrating with Airflow. Um, yeah, I have heard of people doing it directly within Airflow if it's their own models, but I don't
I
think
don't
that's
know.
as common.
That's the only thing I can think. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally fine if it's
Maybe that's useful. I guess
yeah.
like it is like with that specifically, I guess it is like you do have to like pass these like files. There's a lot of like file passing back and forth. I think I talked about this earlier when we explained how it worked. I don't know. That's it. That's not like nothing too crazy that I can think of that would like, but that I know that I guess that could be like I guess from like a security or like data processing concern, like that could be something to cut down on. Um, since you're not like I mean, I guess it depends on where you're hosting like the source data from. But I guess mostly that would all live inside of AWS and the I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but the astronomer like services hosted in AWS too, right?
You can choose with our managed service where you
Yeah.
want to run
Well,
your
ours is.
workers and
Ours is, I
yeah,
remember, but yeah. So
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I guess it depends. If you do want to have like we do import some data from like BigQuery. And Google doesn't exactly like Google and Amazon do not make it easy to like say like, okay, can I please just like export this BigQuery data to this S3 bucket where all of my other stuff lives? And they're like, yeah, we can't let you do that. You're gonna have to build like parallel infrastructure for importing BigQuery data. So uh I can see if someone was like wanting to get data from like combine data from Google and other sources, like running into problems with that, maybe. But I don't know. This all seems like kind of like edge cases overall. Um,
Okay, well, it's also yeah, totally valid to say it works great, and
it does work great.
that's how it is.
Yeah,
So,
pretty easy
uh,
for what we've built out. So
yeah, cool. Well, I would love to also touch briefly on your use case of using Airflow to anonymize user data, which I think you mentioned briefly at the beginning. Tell me a little bit more about that and why it's important for your business.
yeah, so there's like regulatory requirements for deleting expired anonymous data. So like when you have users, either there's like different circumstances. So like someone can like people can request have their data anonymized, or they're just like some person who comes to the website and they haven't like made an account or logged in. So they're like inherently anonymous to us. Um, so I believe what is it? I'm looking at the DAG right now, 1,825 days. So I believe it's
Okay.
like that's 5 years, right? Approximately. I think it's 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. So every 5 years you have to like get rid of this expired anonymous data. So we built this DAG that essentially it just runs once a day, and like any data that like fits that criteria, it will drop from both the so we clean it out of Snowflake, and from we also like have it run commands for our front end like Postgres database. And yeah, that's really easy because then like if like someone comes to audit us, it's like very simple to show them. Like I can just like, I don't even have to like really show them the Python. I can give them like explain what the Python code does, I guess. But if I show them the DAG saying, look, it's executing this SQL statement on all these tables where we have everything. So that's pretty cool to just be able to say, okay, this is restore anonymous data, then set up this DAG and then forget about it. Like it just runs every day. And we don't have to have any like ongoing maintenance or processes, because that's what we were doing previously. Just like once a month was like, okay, go in and execute this. So that's been really good from like a compliance and governance issue perspective.
That makes sense. And we spoke about this a little bit at the very beginning of the episode, and it's not maybe directly related to this use case, but one of the things that we've seen with Airflow 3 because of the remote execution feature that we talked about is that a lot of companies in these highly regulated industries are moving to Airflow 3 so that they can make use of that, especially if they have regulations that say the data needs to stay in a specific place and that's not necessarily where they're running Airflow. Is that relevant for you or something you're looking at as you consider upgrading?
Oh, definitely. So my previous company worked like so Vivian, it is like healthcare tech, but we don't work with like any protected health information. But my old company had a ton of PHI, and just from like a development perspective, it was very, very frustrating to meet all those regulatory requirements. And we were using Airflow as well. This was a number of years ago, so there was no Airflow 3. I remember, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but there were like a ton of pain points with that for like authentication, and like local development especially was really hard, like having to like essentially create like a ton of mock data or like anonymize existing data every time you wanted to test something.
That totally makes sense. I can see where that will be really helpful for a lot of folks going forward. In the interest of time, Max, has been really interesting talking about this, but I always like to end with a standard final question for folks, and that is, what would you most like to see from the Airflow project in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I built out myself, which was the capability to like just and then I might I might sound kind of silly if this is something that already exists, but we really like the ability, like I built like an extension to some of our operators that allow us to like essentially like tag people in a Slack channel. So you just like set up like, okay, this is our like Slack has some like webhooks you can set up, and then you can map users to specific tasks. And there's like there's a little bit of like there's a little bit of friction where you have to like pull the like every user in Slack has like a unique hash ID, uh and have like a just a dictionary to like map that together. I don't know. So I mean, that is something that would be cool to like be able to have, because to promote like engineering ownership over like certain things. That way I don't have to like, let's say you have like someone who's like, me leading the data team. I see something breaks in Airflow and I have to like, say, oh, okay, ping a specific person. Like it can automatically do that. I don't know, that was like something we built out here internally, and it's been pretty helpful. So I don't know, next maybe see if people want to do that. That would be cool. Yeah, I haven't like gone to play around with the UI too much in Airflow 3, but it does look a lot better. It was pretty like yeah, the Airflow 2 like UI was definitely showing its age, and like to the point like I think my favorite little like I say I say favorite, but like if you had like procedurally generated task names and they like got too big, they would like take up the whole screen, and there would be you wouldn't really be able to like see like the grid without like doing with like messing around in it. And that was just like I was like, okay, like this is clearly like just some like, you know, CSS bug, but pretty frustrating. So I don't know. There's just like a lot of, I guess like the main thing was like just like quality of life improvements that make Airflow you know, I think we talked about this earlier about things. It was like a very technical thing for engineers. I think like removing some of that friction, and there's like a lot of low hanging fruit, things I just discussed would go a long way towards addressing that. Just kind of like bringing it up to like the standards of, like a product like Stitch or something. Or, I know it's never going to be there because they're obviously very different, but yeah, there are just like a few things like, for example, like the way that like variables, like Airflow variables are stored, like having that, a lot of people I know still like use the UI for that. And there's not like really an industry standard for like we use, for example, like AWS parameter store. I know there's a number of other solutions. But yeah, maybe a little more like standardization there. That's it really.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Like the
That's
quality of life stuff, but
Yeah, totally fair. Sometimes it's those little things that make a big difference. And certainly a lot of improvements like that came in the Airflow 3 release.
yeah, I'm excited to try it out. It looked great. Uh, yeah, I downloaded it at Snow Summit this year. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah, very cool. All right, Max. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great chatting with you. What is the best way for folks to get in touch with you?
yeah, so I'm you can find me on LinkedIn, Maxwell Calehuff, Calehuff. And yeah, if you have any questions about Vivian or data engineering, my email is mcalehuff. So yeah, mcalehuff, my last name, at vivian.com. Yeah, so yeah, please shoot me an email, add me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I love talking about this stuff. I could be here for another hour. Easily.
We will throw those in the show notes. I'm sure we have another hour of stuff to talk about, but I do have a hungry dog who is ready for something for his afternoon snack. He's gonna get very bothersome here in a minute. So I'll go take care of him. But thank you again for coming on. It's been really great speaking with you.
You too, Ken. Have a great day.